right, good deal. Okay, we're 4 after. Let's get rolling. Welcome everybody. It's the WebAssembly filters meeting, the WASM filters meeting. It's a weekly meeting. This is our third one, I think. Maybe I will remember that this is a 45-minute meeting. I'm not sure. Either way, it'll give Pranav something to make fun of me about, which is always good. And so this meeting runs really similar to the rest of the meetings inside the Layer 5 IO or the Layer 5 community, which is well, I'll let you I'll let you see those as we go. One of them is to check to see if we have any newcomers on the call, any new faces. And if so, we'll get a chance to say hi. And so, Anand, I wonder, Anand, have we gotten a chance to say hi? Have you been able to introduce on a call before?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so this is actually my first call. I think, maybe my second. One of them was the newcomers and which was just an introduction, and the other one was a community meeting. Yeah,
Nice.
so
Okay.
this is my third one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, see, they all start to blend together after a while.
Yeah.
Good. Did you say, okay, well, and so the addendum to that tradition is that each call interests different parties, different contributors. And so you're forced to say hi and introduce yourself on each call, because then when that's done, then you'll have made the full circle.
Got it. So my name's Anand. I'm from Bangalore, India. And I wanted to contribute to open source, and I found this Layer 5 community really cool. So I just wanted to, get more into it. But because of my exams, so I'm studying my third year of engineering. And so because of my exams, I was just a little held back. So I think it's time to make progress now, since it's getting to the end.
Good. Yeah, yep, the handcuffs are coming off, right? The ankle chain of school. Okay, good.
That's right.
Maybe you could actually have this summer or something. That might be nice.
I mean, I still have my finals maybe in 2 more months, so I still have a lot of time for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pranav can commiserate. I think his finals are just sort of looming out there at any given time that they want to do a pop.
Now it's confirmed July 26th. So I'll be saying bye-bye for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks around that time.
Sure. At least it's not, it won't be a pop final. It won't be like a surprise. That's good.
Who knows? Who knows? They might just, I learned today there's no word called prepone in English, and it's just an Indian thing to say prepone. So, but I guess it gets the meaning across. Okay, anyway, I'll get on to my topic. So last week, after many requests from Samir, finally I got around to creating the Jot Manipulator 9000. So this was to facilitate one of his requirements in his, in his project, where he has to, there's a header section, a payload section, and then there's a third section which talks about the actual verification part. So that's not, that's not important to this, but mainly he wanted to take headers within the payload section. So I'll just call them key value pairs, because it gets it's a mouthful just saying headers. So he wants to take key value pairs from the payload and put them into the header section. And for that, he thought they had a microservice deployed doing that job, but this is something that Wasm Filter can easily intercept modify and send back. And so I got to work. I modified the rate limit filter. I guess I used it as a template to get started on that. And how I did was there was I'm on my phone right now. I can't really show it. Hopefully Samir can, if he has that sample um, JSON configuration, so he could post that on in the chat. But basically, you pass in this configuration. You say, okay, these are the key value pairs I expect in the payload section. These are the key value pairs I expect in the header section. And then you can say that, okay, sort of like, okay, if you see this header in the payload, shift it up, and you can perform all sorts of operations based on the configurations you pass, basically. And I deployed it to Image Hub. So since this is something that should work with all JOTs, so Image Hub also uses the JOT format to validate plans and the user. And I kind of tested it out on that using Meshery. I deployed it over there. I had to currently manually, change some lines in the code, and I had to sort of change the value in that filter application YAML. But apart from that, it was pretty smooth. I applied it, did some debugging, and got it working. The issue was, okay, so one of the ways to test was directly, access Image Hub and, access the path that the filter was operating on. And the issue with that is uh, it's clunky. You have to access it manually. You have to configure stuff. And so Meshery provides this patterns testing page, which lets you put in a URL. It lets you put in whatever headers you want, cookies you want, anything, and you can access it and test it. And it was pretty good. I could, run the test, but I couldn't find out anything useful because I don't know if it was, a lack of knowledge, but I did not see what request responses were being sent. So I ran the test. I ran saying, okay, fine, every 1 second send a request to this URL. I set the JOT, I set all the header values, and I just ran it. It gave me a countdown timer for 10 seconds, which is what I had set it for. But so one of the things was I did not know when the countdown was going on. I did not know if how my requests were looking. So a console output or something like that beside the timer, that would have been amazing. A close button would have been amazing in case I to abruptly abort the performance test. So that's something I didn't find. I tried clicking outside, it didn't work for me. So I don't know if it's something wrong with my deployment or what, but I couldn't abort the test. I could not see the outputs of the request responses. And once the test was done, I was not able to observe my request responses. So I could not use the patterns to test out my for my use case, unfortunately. So I had to stick to the manually deploying and doing Control Shift I in Chrome, Firefox, and seeing my request response. But long story short, the filter worked, and I showed it to Samir. Samir was there, cool, and I got my first star on my personal repo. But sadly, happily, I had to put it on the WASM filter. So I guess I'm gonna that 1 star will be there on my repo forever. I'll cherish it.
Good deal. So Pranav, will you have access to your keyboard later?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Good. Yeah, as a topic later in the meeting, it'll probably be helpful to look at to understand what additional tooling Meshery should have to facilitate part of the process that you were just talking about, the ability to see requests, look at them before and after, get some telemetry,
Yeah.
what all, yeah. Nice. Okay, good. Well, I'm not sure if we'll be able to answer this right now or not, but one of the questions you had asked was like, was about JWT in general and whether or not JOTs in general support updating their headers or having their headers updated. So,
Not necessarily headers updated. So updation of the headers, yes, that's completely supported. The existing values like the algorithm type and the key ID is supported very much. And a lot of them are optional, but there are some default required headers. What I was saying was if you want to add a custom header, let's say email, that addition of your own header key value, that I could not find any evidence of it existing. Hopefully Samir has an update, since he said his team was what do you say, working on implementing that. So
Yes. I'll give an update on that.
sure.
Yeah.
so the question here is, can an additional key value pair be added to a JOT header? Is that the right way?
So there are a total of 8, like from whatever I could see, there are a total of 8 possible values that can be inserted into a header. Because how Rust works is you can take a JSON and you can sort of deserialize it to a struct in Rust. So that struct, of course, will have fixed number of values. And in this case, each header, that was header section that was defined by the JOT libraries that exist, in the Rust ecosystem, they didn't allow you to add your own headers. They always said, okay, fine, if you want to configure, you can configure any of these 8 values. You cannot add your own values, if that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah. So can anyone else confirm that that's the case?
So I have a small question. So by headers we mean subjects, right? As in the yeah.
So by headers, I mean, when you take the JOT itself, okay, let me see if I can share the screen on my phone. Give me a second.
So headers in a JWT is basically it has key value pairs of what, for example, what algorithm is used and what kind
what key ID you have, the I think particular, I guess there are 8 of them. I'm not too sure. And this last week was the first time I was directly working with JOT. So
okay.
yeah. I'll just share my screen. Is that fine?
No. I got what you're saying.
I am okay, sure, fine. I thought it will clarify it for people how the structure looks. So, okay.
Yeah, and so recap for me, if you would, that we confirmed that yes or no is the answer to Pranav's question.
That's a definite maybe, I guess, from the silence.
So, Pranav, when you said updating header, so is it like that only the JOT? So I think there are 3 parts: header, payload, and signature. So is it has to be absolutely in header, or can it be in payload also? That's the first question. Yeah.
Samir, okay, I think we can could you hold these questions, because Samir is going to be also talking about the testing of the JOT. What do you say, JOT manipulator, and then I guess it'll wrap up nicely, and the requirements that he needs will also be clarified to you. So to answer that question, until a few days ago, yes, it was required that some of the key value pairs or the headers had to be shifted from the payload to the header, and that was a requirement. But then after I raised the concern that headers might not support, adding whatever you wanted to them. I guess his team has made some changes. So I guess, Samir, you could start your, this is a perfect transition to your topic.
Yes. Let me just quickly share my screen. Ah, okay. Yes. One second. Yeah. So, what exactly, what Pranav was explaining. So, if I was, please correct me, Pranav, if I'm wrong. So, currently, this is the JWT, okay, which is being passed. So, as you see, there are three, portion to it. One is with red, which is corresponding to header. So one is with this one violet, which is the payload, and another is in the blue, which is from the signature part. So how exactly our infrastructure or our architecture was working? Because we are also in a active development of our architecture or our product. So basically what we are doing, so whenever we are passing, because this JWT token get decrypted in the ISTO with this code. So if I can make it bit larger. Yeah. So if you can see this one, so it will take one issuer, which is particularly this website, which is Auth0 website. And from there, we get the JWKS URI, which is also from this, from this particular Auth0 application or website. So when we pass this particular request, let's say there are two requests. So one is being front end and another being back end. So whenever there is a request goes to the back end, it get evaluated depending upon these values, which is email and another is sub. These two value get faced by our backend or the backend system, and then the request has been evaluated. So what we were following is we are just passing these two values to this JWT header, not the HTTP header. So this essentially comes with a authorization header. If you see from here, we have this token which goes as an authorization. Okay, and from this authorization, what we are doing, we are manipulating this payload and moving this email as well as this sub to the header of this JWT token. And when this particular thing hits the another API, so those two things get captured and then the request happens or the response has been executed or anything whatever response or whatever business logic it has to run, it is running. So what exactly happening here is, so now which Pranav has told us, like these headers, which is ideally a very basic or very ideal header for a JWT, we should not manipulate this because this is kind of a violation of a rule or something, because it has the algorithm and the kind KID, so which is very important for a JWT token to hold its hold throughout the request flow. For us, it is not giving any error because it is being evaluated first in the envoy proxy, which is in our ingress gateway, ISTO ingress gateway. And from there, once it passes that, then this particular thing, like, get omitted or get deleted by the filter which Pranav has created. So there is no evaluation in any of the other envoy proxies so far. That is why it is not giving a problem. But whenever the architecture changes, wherein you need this authorization or authentication happens in every envoy proxy, then there will be a problem, because it will not find all these things from the header. So did I make myself clear?
Yeah, pretty much. So one of the things is, okay, so you have now decided to maintain the fields and not remove them.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So now what exactly we are thinking? So instead of touching this JWT, what we would do, we would just extract this email and this sub as a HTTP header, okay, and pass it through. And if you see, peculiarly this kind of situation has been headed by many of people. Can you see this? Decode JWT and put sub into the request header.
Yeah.
And some, but this is not been implemented by ISTO yet. So that is where I have also asked them, and they told claims are not something which directly handles. You can add more claims here. There is doesn't seem to be anything in the request authentication resource that would allow you to pull out of the specific claims in the headers, because the CRD, which this particular thing is part of request authentication,
Right.
okay, is it not capable of doing getting the specific claims. Oh, 1 second, I don't know where it is coming again. Specific claims from this payload and put it as a header. So instead what it can do is it can just provide you the output payload to header. So this particular payload what you have, you can pass these things as a custom header to the next available microservices or wherever you need, and from there you can fetch it from here. Like, if you give some name to here, if you give some name like my JWT header or something they have given, so in this header all those claims values will be there. And in your application, wherever you want to do any of the manipulation, you have to extract those value using this particular header, because now this particular header holds all your claims. But the direct adding of claims, which is basically of this kind, like it has been opened in very March 2019 and still it is active, and they are planning to. So if you see currently IST authorization or the OPA adapter true or false results, it doesn't modify the headers. If it comes a popular requirement, we may consider supporting this. So this particular thing has not been supported yet. So what you can do is you have to write a Lua filter if you want to go through, or you have to make use of the Rust filter or the way which we are doing right now.
Okay, so please, like, just I just want one part clarified. Like, I did not understand when you said that. Okay, there is that what do you say, payload to header section which allows you to do stuff, but currently nothing from the claims directly. I'm sorry, I did not understand that exactly.
Okay, so let me tell you one thing. So now this my JWT header is just a header which contains all these things. Okay, but most
Okay, so just a confirmation. So that is a request that someone is making. Please add this to the YAML.
exactly. So now people,
I thought it was a feature that already existed. Never mind.
people now want this email should go as a HTTP header.
Yeah, this would be a very, very easy thing. So I was thinking as well, like, to allow people to extract values from the header and payload and add it as a separate HTTP header. That would be a very easy.
Yeah.
Put.
So now why it has come up? So we have did some kind of those things, and whenever we had a security audit 2 days back, we saw there are unauthorized requests happen to our backend or the services. And when we understood, or we thought what exactly the issues is happening, that we found out this is where the issue lies, because the request is going without header and all those things, and though it is passing, but this is a security issue. So that is where I told your view to my teammates, and they told okay.
So glad to help. So right, cool. So I think this could be something to fix, but in hindsight, should I then remove the header manipulation?
No. That maybe so few people want for their testing purpose, but here if you see, it is working for me. So this is the result which I am getting. This is
So
from
Utkarsh sent a particular link that goes to an RFC. I'm on my phone, so the hyperlink is not working properly.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if could you open it on your screen, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think section 5.3.
Yeah, section 5.3. Yeah. So ideally, if you see this particular thing is also being used by some guy, but that is a Lua filter, and that is very much complicated. I'll show you that one also.
Pranav, did you also look at the, well, the other JOT utilities that Mondar Jog was writing? There was a link I'd sent to an Istio repo.
Right. I did check it. It looked a bit complicated, so I didn't really get the complete picture as of yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. That is, no, we are not signing it again. That's another concern I had, because we are manipulating it, right? So, like, according to Samir, his use case was just, what do you say, modify it, and the authorizations, the authentication is already done. So you can modify it freely. So I didn't bother too much about the signature.
Yeah, for us it is working, as I told, right? So for us it is working because it doesn't has to authenticate, because authentication is already done. Okay, so if you see in this particular one, okay, so here we are used as a sidecar outbound. Okay, so it get modified when the request leaves the sidecar proxy. That is why after and this is also the context is gateway, so it doesn't have anything to do with the authentication, and this is also insert after. That is why it is not giving any issues for us. And if you see, I'm getting a request, so when I post it, I get my required value. Okay, so this is working, so not an issue. But that is where, so if you see also, right, the authorization token is here. See, I'm getting the authorization token, and if I remove it, you will not get anything.
So the thing is, since this filter is supposed to be general purpose, I'm just thinking about the decision to like maintain what you say, the ability to manipulate header values. So like you have, what do you say, maybe I could fork the existing what do you say, the existing jot filter, I mean jot libraries, and try and add stuff. Not sure how much time that will take, but okay, yeah. So my only concern is that because you want to keep the what do you say, you want to be able to add custom values to your header.
Yes.
That
So the
might,
thing is what
yeah.
why I'm telling you to keep that. If anybody wants to play around with that filter, they can just go and do. But yeah,
Right, but again, the thing is, if it is not to spec, should we allow that? Because like again, this is supposed, the spec exists for the reason that everything should just work. Like you should trust the interfaces a particular library or a particular program provides. So if you're getting custom headers as well, and that is not to spec, that might cause other issues. Sure, you can experiment and whatnot, and this jot manipulation thing will be there, but should it be supported further now, like further on? And like Utkarsh said, well, after manipulation, one would want to, what do you say, uh, regenerate the signature. So for you, you might not need that, but for others who want that jot to manipulate, like, maintain its integrity.
yes. So
I think that's,
that should be a standard one, and I'll just show you this one. So if you can like want to see how exactly a Lua filter looks, so that will give you more idea. Okay, so here is the Lua filter way of doing it. Can you see this much code? This is something, and finally it is just 2 lines here which they are adding.
Uh, so, Samir, can you show me your payload again? The payload part.
Yeah,
Capability.
so payload is here. I don't know why it is not.
I guess it's in jwt.io.
Yeah, this is the payload part.
So you need only 2 of these fields to be replicated on the header, right?
Anything like most of people need email
Yeah.
or
So
oh,
what I was thinking is basically you can annotate the fields so that a filter could read and uh, pass away those fields to the HTTP headers. Like for example, if you need email in HTTP header, what you can do is you can name it as HTTP underscore email, or maybe some kind of a general annotation that we can come up with, so that you can annotate those many fields, and the filter would read them and replicate those to HTTP headers. That will be a simple solution.
actually, you don't even need to do that. You can just pass in, again, in the configuration, you can just pass in what filters, I mean, what headers you want to exactly read from the
yeah.
payload. And I can then just extract it and put it in the header. That's not an issue.
So I'll also give this particular
So
thing
what was
because
the issue with having this generic?
it
The
cannot be
issue,
generic. It cannot be generic because the JWT payload can be like declared by users. So there can be much more values and fields there.
so payload and claim are interchangeable from what I
Yes.
have said.
Yes.
So like the claims are user defined. The headers, they have fixed number of fields, 8 in total, including the algorithm type and the key ID, so on and so forth. And those two are, I think, the required ones. Other than that, all the others are optional. But you cannot add custom headers, is the conclusion
So
so far.
header part of the thing is ruled out, right? Like basically we're not
You
supposed to.
cannot, yeah, you cannot touch it. Like you can modify the values of the existing fields, but you cannot touch the. I mean, you cannot change or add your own stuff.
Yeah. So basically, I didn't understand why it cannot be dynamic in case of payload. So basically, I understood that there can be multiple more values for different JWT tokens, but the intention is to replicate those number of fields that to HTTP header, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So like basically, uh, one thing that you're saying is that you pass or you give it as an input saying that these are the fields I needed for HTTP headers.
You're saying there should be things that work without the need for a configuration as well.
What do you mean configuration?
What I mean is there's a what do you say, a JSON that is passed to the filter when the WASM VM loads up, and then this JSON tells, okay, these are it's custom defined. So
Yeah,
depending on the filter, in this case, you'll be like, okay, these are the headers I want to extract.
yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. So instead of having a separate JSON, if you annotate the current fields, and if the filter understands saying that, let's say if this particular field has a
Yeah,
prefix
it
of,
starts with the JWT underscore,
yeah,
then yeah, just put it
it
as a
can
header.
it needs to be
No, that's not an issue. Yeah, that's pretty easy. That's not an issue. I'm just saying that if you have this already, the configuration, why would you need that as well?
so I don't understand what the challenge is here. Like basically the
No. There's no challenge as such. So currently, again, Jot manipulator has there's a decision being made whether to continue support the adding and deleting headers, and there is a challenge that uh, if we do continue, how are we going to again regenerate that what do you say, signature? And if we decide to go with regenerating the signature, then I would have to use a default library, which would then again bring us back to stage one, where you cannot
yeah,
change the
so
header stuff
No,
why
easily.
should
that would be very tedious. So there is no need of that. So
uh,
because we didn't know about the architecture at the beginning until unless we were forced to see about the security reasons. Okay, wherein you should not change, as he Pranab told, you should not change this header of a JWT at any cost.
You can change the values within the algo or type or key ID, but
Yeah.
you cannot change the, I mean, you cannot add your own headers.
Yes. So why we are doing that? Because as I told, we were just like progressing in our development. So we thought to take the authentication already happening in the ISTO ingress gateway. So there is no need of this. But whenever it goes via the security center of Azure, it can catch it. Okay. So where it says the request is not secure. So that is where, so you have to pass all these field as a HTTP header.
So Abhishek, I think I understood where you're coming from. So there's no problem as such. It's
Yes.
just decisions that we need to make regarding how to change the filter. So the actual configuration passing and all of that won't be affected exactly. But what will be what I will be changing potentially, if everyone agrees this is the best way to move forward, is that I would be using a standard Jot library to regenerate the signature and to modify the claims, and to also be able to provide an interface to change the values in the header for the existing values. So I will remove the ability to add your own headers and delete your own headers. Deletion, I think it's fine since it's an option. Okay, never mind that. Deletion is fine, but the addition of your own headers, I will be removing.
Look,
That
you
feature.
can, like, yeah, I guess to comment on that is all of the above is fine. Like to insert a virus, to blow up your computer, to send a nuclear missile to like these aren't things that, it's not to say that we're proponents of these things, of these get included as descriptions in the README that say, hey, if you do this, then your signature will be invalid. Here's the ability to, update your signature. Like, we're not building a nuclear bomb and delivering it to people. Rather, we're saying this is how one could do it. And it's your environment. So if it's okay with you not to have, not to have your signature be off, then that's your decision in your infrastructure. So yeah, it's
Okay. Okay. So leave the thing as is. It's working. It's beautiful. It lets you do unsafe things, but those who use it, they know it's unsafe.
Yep. Yeah, and we want to start, and it's an appropriate conversation to have, and it's an appropriate thing to document. It's an appropriate thing to make not the default. I don't know that applies in this case about defaults, but just in general to make notes and caveats about, and to make it such that people are opting in, or that they would, they have to know what they're doing. Things like that, reasonable things of it's part of this comes to a question. I'll give a quick example of when you go buy a wireless router today. If you go buy a router and plug it in at home, it will undoubtedly have a default password at a minimum. Maybe it has other security considerations. It used to be the case that wasn't true. Like, hey, you just set them up and they're open by default, or they have a default password and they don't make you reset it. So if you bought a very popular Wi-Fi router, that it can get cracked easily. And so as an industry, people have reflected and trying to do better secure practices, but even then it was legitimate that hey, you, the user, should have changed it, or you should have. Anyway, people really do know what they'll be aware of. We should be calling those things out. It doesn't mean that we should necessarily remove it, because if that is their use case, we in fact are not doing anything evil. They will go seek out the use case in a filter somewhere to do it. So
okay, I find that's also a very valid point.
Yeah,
That's work for me.
Yeah, just one thing to tell, if they are using something kind as Azure has their Azure Defender services and all, it may catch. But from the security point of view, if you see, it is it is secured, because whenever a request comes, it goes via your ISTO ingress, where already the request has been set, and everything whatever communication happens inside the cluster, that already has the cluster IPs, not the load balancers. So
yeah, yep. So it's a good, great. Moving on. It's an appropriate question to be asked. And it can make sense that maybe there's another version that doesn't allow that, or that there's it's one of those things too. It's sort of another good example that gets into gray area is well, let's say that we're hosting Filter Hub. Let's say that, because actually it's funny. I was going to use the example of Docker Hub. There's all kinds of Docker images out there, container images out there, and they're laden with security issues, vulnerability issues. Okay, well, what's Docker doing? Disseminating and letting the world, share those things. Well, there's a difference between official images and other images, and Docker integrates with SNCC now and helps people sneak and helps people. I guess what I'm saying is these types of issues are everywhere, and it would be another one of those. It'll happen where if we do end up with a Filter Hub or something similar, this will be kind of one of those same questions. If someone intentionally designed a filter that is built for purposes of extracting emails and then posting them on the internet and sending them to spam generators, well, maybe we would decide that goes against policy of what we're now if they have one that extracts emails and lets you see the email, someone could use that very same one and they just add a little more code to then post it publicly. Yeah, anyway. Okay, anyway, moving on. Good. So right now, so the state of it is, Samir, you were overarchingly success, but we'll need to get the PR, Samir's or Pranav's PR merged. Get the
Yes,
ability.
so yeah, I would like to thank him because it really made our work done. So, but yes, so the additional requirement which we got, that I would say that is because of Pranam. So now he has to take it up. So
You're welcome. I will
so
take extra payment for this, no issues.
yeah, so but yeah, so that really works.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, we will. There's some things to follow up then. So Gaurav, let's get into your area and see if we can make this. So now that Samir has at least the start of the tool that he needs, like how do we make this easy to consume, easy to deploy, easy to monitor ongoing? How does Samir know which envoy filters have the filter, and like he can answer some of those questions today, but how do we make it just a lot easier?
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen. So I have just implemented the schema for the filter UI for supporting and handling the WASM configurations. So yeah, based on that, I have also updated my changes in the PR itself. And I was supposed to finish it off by weekend, but yeah, due to vaccination and its effect, I was not able to complete it. So we'll complete it soon. So yeah, what I've just done over here is I've added a add button icon over here, which when we hover over it, it shows filter configuration. When we click over here, we got a RGFS React JSON schema, so where we can add on our rules uh, for the WASM files, and we can just define our parameters and all, rate limiter and all. So based on previous discussions with Pranav, I have implemented this one. And yeah, Pranav, is this kind of a schema fine or?
Yeah, my mind is blown right now. Just give me a second. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is pretty much it.
Yeah, I
So you'll be
referenced
adding
it
a section to manually specify a JSON, right?
yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that properly.
You'll be manually like you'll have a button or something that will toggle to the notepad view, which you can manually add your JSON, right?
Yeah, that will be also done over here.
Okay, cool.
So currently, it's not accepting any pre-rendered values, or when we add a rule type.
So one more thing I see over here, you've said what do you say? Identifier and limit of requests. So how about you say identifier value instead of limit of requests?
Okay, fine.
Or do you want to say key value? I don't know which one's more generic. So I think
Key value. I think key value would be more efficient and precise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is this some kind of a similar based on what we discussed?
Yeah, definitely. This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I guess others would, I guess once it's an action, we would be able to ask for solid feedback about.
Yeah, because I referenced it from Soham's filter, RGFS filter from the Meshmap itself. So yeah, it helped me a lot.
Cool.
Yeah,
and one more thing is, if you just provide me a Git kind of UI wherein I can see what is deleted and what is added, if I want to modify it in a later time, So I can just see what is added like in a green or what is deleted with a red kind of stuff. So
Yeah, what we can do for that is
So you want a versioning system sort of thing?
not really worsening, because that is again a tool. So just to see what exactly, if I go to my like at least last two history, it should show me what exactly happened.
So I guess later down the line, what I was once this feature is sort of baked in well enough, I was thinking that there should be sort of a list of previous configurations.
Yes.
So you would be able to, I guess, copy it and make a new one and rename the new one. So for each filter, when you click on it, could you click on one for right now? Yeah. Could you like bring up the dialog for the config? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Oh, hold up. Could you go back to that page where the filter config you could enter? Like,
sure.
right. So, okay. Yeah. One thing I was hoping for was, instead of having that plus button, over there on top of that thing, next to each filter, that's where it should belong. So you would have one filter like that you would upload, one WASM file, and linked to each WASM file would be multiple filters. So this form should be actually associated with the filter, not the entire what do you say, not the entire page, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. But as you told that we should have a button that when a user is not having a default filter file or anything, so that he can also like add up from here itself. No?
A direct one. Okay, so you okay, fine, cool. Yeah, that clears it up. Yeah.
And yeah, I have also added a multiple bulk delete option over here, that we
Cool.
can select multiple files and delete at one
Damn
go.
cool stuff. Yes, this is basically what.
Yeah, it was just an enabling one key feature in the material UI table itself. So yeah, I want to ask Lee that should I implement this, enable this checkbox feature in the application and patterns too?
Yes.
Okay.
I might have missed it, but do we have the ability to deploy them?
No, not yet.
No.
So the config itself, yes, you have the ability to apply, I guess. Navendu had done that, but currently I have to still get in touch with Navendu. I did ask if I could help him out on the adapter side to deploy the filter itself, but I'm not sure how much work has been done on that end. So once that is done, I guess.
So,
like,
Utkarsh, do you want to speak to that?
So yeah, as Pranav was saying that applying configuration in envoy filter configuration, that's done, but in terms of parent list, you can actually deploy that. However, this particular custom configuration, that is the filter configuration, that's not something. Basically, I also paying the Navendu, but I'm not quite sure that what the progress there is. Yeah. I also had one question for Gaurav. So here, when Gaurav actually pressed on that R icon, that render out a RGSF form. This form is, I think, this is specific to the rate limit
Rate
filter.
limit.
Is that,
yeah.
So it's a naive question. I'm not sure. So is this table about only about the rate limit filter, or is it
so this was the exact question I was posing last time. So when we had a conversation with Gaurav about this, and the conclusion was basically that, we're going to have a format, and I guess Vijay also, he sort of told that you can specify a JSON manually, and you can give that option, which I was completely for. But as I mentioned last time, the format I came up was specific to what this an application, which would, so this is not specific to the rate limit filter per se. You can make another filter which follows the route and the rule type you want to apply for that particular route. So uh, so in that sense, if you see the rate limit filter, the project that's up on Image Hub. So over there, you will see I have structured the Rust code in a way that you can add more rules. So not just rate limit filter, I can add the jot manipulator as well to it. I can do a lot more. So it's supposed to be one filter to rule them all, sort of thing. So with that in mind, this is the format I've come up with, where depending on what path you, depending on a route you have, there's a particular filter for that rule, for that route. Sorry. So no, it's not only for the rate limit filter, but yes, in the sense that you have this fixed format. And I guess it was decided that, it's up to the people whether they want to follow this format or specify something custom. That is what was the conclusion last time.
Oh, okay. So basically, this is almost generic.
Almost generic, yeah. Perfect.
Okay, so next week we'll have a demo, hopefully from Utkarsh and Gaurav, on deploying a filter with custom config.
And just one thing, I couldn't understand how exactly the filter config work at the backend, and that is why I have just used the config map to store this filter and do it from there. So, though, there should be more document how exactly this filter works from the UI till the CRD. So that would,
Yeah, that's a good point. Not only there should be, yeah, each individual filter that is loaded here should probably, we should facilitate inclusion of a description of what the filter does and what its purpose is, like a hyperlink to where to go look up more details about it.
yes. And also, does it create a additional sidecar, or does it directly goes to the envoy sidecar which is there?
Right. Yeah. Or and in addition to that, so there's that. And then at the point by which it is applied, we'll want to be able to allow the user to identify, is this applied inbound, outbound? Like some filters might only work on one side of the conversation, but others
Yes.
might work inbound, outbound, before a filter, after another filter, like where do they get inserted in the chain? So those are considerations that we'll need to account for here.
Yes, maybe those will come in the mesh map, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that probably end up being both. That one, that you're right that it's probably easier to be done in mesh map because you'll visually be able to see the fact that these things are flowing in this direction and before or after one another.
Yes.
But we also do want to facilitate a form-based of the conventional Mesher UI-based configuration. I mean, it might be,
yeah,
since it isn't as visual in nature, it may be harder to understand, but we still want to allow people to achieve that. Even outside of those two visual clients, we do the same. We do need to support this, a way of people describing those in pattern files to describe the fact that this one comes before that one, or is it, like, and so Utkarsh and Gaurav, like I don't anticipate the Vendu is necessarily going to be able to deliver a custom configuration string by next Monday, but Utkarsh right now do pattern files. Pattern files themselves support a custom config string. It sounds like what isn't necessarily supported is I don't know, I guess, is it not the registration of that capability, or where are we at?
So right now, the state, like on web filter state in Pattern is that you can actually configure, basically pass in a web filter configuration, the same configuration that you may do via writing the manifest, the SC manifest, the on filter manifest. You can do all of that using patterns. You can pass in custom configuration. There also be encoded in base 64. So that's all is supported. However, uploading, what's not supported is, which I think that Ravindra was working on, was basically uploading your custom binaries, wasm binaries to the server using patterns. The reason that we chose patterns was because of some limitations that we have right now, the communication limitation that we have between adapters and server. But yeah, that's something that's not supported, uploading the binaries. However, configuration and those kind of things, that's completely supported. Generic one is supported. Obviously, we don't have like the specific image filter configuration construct there.
That makes sense. I mean, so to re-articulate that, what we're saying right now is that there's like a two-step operation to using a custom filter, or like potentially three-step, but that one, you would, as a user, upload your filter binary and your filter config. And then two, in a pattern file, you would reference that filter. And potentially then from there, just apply the pattern. The pattern references the filter as it's loaded in Meshery. And that should be
like the worst case scenario for the uploading thing, if it's not possible from the just using the patterns directly, or just by pushing it, is that currently the way it's being done is that there is an intermediate instance being created, which then handles deploying the binary itself. And this instance, then what one can do is it's basically a JSON file, and over there it's like curl, it's like doing curl on a URL, pulling it from some internet resource, and then getting it through. So if you can provide that path or that URI for the JSON. So basically I'm saying, if you generate that JSON and point it towards some resource that is available, to be pulled via the curl path, or if you attach a volume to that intermediate instance, then you'll be able to, what do you say, give that binary without really having to use, indirect methods, maybe, if the pattern thing doesn't work out.
Yeah, so the better is to add a volume, which I have just used. So have your .wasm file and just create a config map and use it. So that is most easy. So which I have given the, I take the reference from this particular article. But yes, that is why I was asking, like, if we can see how exactly the things are working, from where this config are taken and how it is being applied, if it is working as a separate instance of a sidecar, or is it a kind of this config which is applied on the sidecar, which works as a envoy filter in Istio. So that, because why I'm telling is that will help us to understand the load of the workload, like what is the load, or if you are running multiple containers in a single pod, then accordingly we have to increase our resources.
Yep, there's a lot of more value to add here. Which filters are deployed, how, what config are they currently running, what's the overhead that they're incurring, a lot of. So as we go to wrap up, because we're over, I just wanted to say hi to Anirban real quick. So Anirban, I can't recall if you had a chance to introduce previously.
Okay, sure. So, hi, this is Anirban. So, I had a meeting. I joined a meeting for the normal machinery which we have, and I think I had attended it last week, but I was a little busy due to certain events. So this is the first time I'm just attending it. So I am basically a C++ guy and have knowledge on uh, Perl and shell scripting, and to some extent Python and Golang. So I am purely from networking domain. So I worked a lot of stuff on networking. So I wish to contribute on the WASM filters, which is written on Rust, to be migrated to C++. So I'm still trying to understand uh, the stuff because I am also working. So I have 15 plus years of experience, and I'm trying to spend some time on this, probably late office hours after I'm done with my meetings and all, and so that I can contribute very soon. So I'm going through the newcomers videos and all the documents and minutes. So guys, please help me to so that I can quickly come up to speed. Thank you.
Lee, I had an idea. So since he's purely like networking and stuff, so packet filtering filter. Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
packet capturing filter.
Oh yeah, sure. Yes, there's and so very very briefly, one of the use cases is to take advantage of the fact that Envoy can capture packets. And Envoy can mirror packets, one, and then it can also capture packets, and then we can replay those. And so there's a lot of use cases around those capabilities. So Anirban, you're welcome.
Thanks a lot, Lee. Thanks a lot, Lee. So it might take some time because, as I said, I'm also working and I have to. I'm also part of a team and I need to do some individual contributions as well. So I need to kind of balance my time between this and the open source freelance work I'm doing. So I might not be so fast or fully 100% dedicated to the work, but definitely I will try to give as much as I can, and I can get you updated like what exactly I can work on. All right.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Thank you.
That's perfect. Actually, one thing that we could potentially do is together start to learn Envoy's capabilities around mirroring and traffic capturing, and sort of walk this journey together in terms of understanding that and then defining some use cases around it. So
Yeah, that would be really great because when we talk about WASM filters, I'm not purely from that background. So I'm not from the web services background. So I'm more interested in packet stuff. So, but anyway, I'm trying to get over it. But
So,
if there is something,
if you would like, you and I could have a meeting, and I could just give you a brief,
Okay.
walkthrough, so you could understand what exactly WASM filters are. I mean, I myself don't know like 100%. So hopefully this will help.
Sure, Pranav. Let me know when we can meet up. So tomorrow I have a very hectic schedule and like that.
So just
let me know.
message me on Slack.
Okay.
We can then fix up a time.
Sure. In the morning, is that fine?
Sorry?
In the morning time, is it fine? Around 10:30?
Yeah, there's no issue.
Awesome. I'll message you. Thank you.
Can you please include me on that?
Yeah, sure. Samir, so one thing I'll try to do that header thing, and we'll talk about that also later.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
awesome. See you guys next week. See you in Slack. It's a great meeting.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot,
All
Lee.
right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye all.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.